Most people assume mental illness is a scientific fact, a disease of the brain, proven beyond question. But what if it's more complicated than that? What if much of what we call mental illness is actually the clash between the individual and a sick society? That's the challenge posed by psychiatrist Dr. Thomas Szasz in his groundbreaking 1961 book, The Myth of Mental Illness. Szasz didn't deny that people suffer. He questioned why we label that suffering a disease. Szasz argued that psychiatry turned everyday problems, grief, anxiety, loneliness, rebellion, into medical conditions. When someone doesn't fit the social script, the system calls them disordered. The question becomes, who defines normality and in whose interest? In the past, priests called people sinners. Today, psychiatrists call them patients. Different language, same power structure. After World War II, Western culture shifted from moral responsibility to medical diagnosis. Instead of saying, "I'm struggling with meaning," people began to say, "I have depression." Instead of, "I can't stop worrying," they say, "I have generalized anxiety disorder." The language of disease replaced the language of experience. The pharmaceutical industry saw opportunity. If unhappiness is an illness, then every emotion becomes a market. Sadness? There's a pill. Restlessness? There's a pill. Even the side effects now have pills. A true medical disease has a clear biological cause: bacteria, virus, genetic defect, or measurable abnormality. Many so-called mental illnesses don't. They're diagnosed by behavior and opinion, not blood tests or scans. That doesn't make the suffering unreal. It just means the causes are often psychological, social, or spiritual, not purely biological. When someone loses their job, their marriage, or their hope, is that a chemical imbalance or a soul imbalance? Medicine can treat the symptoms, but it can't prescribe meaning. Szasz claimed that psychiatry became a system of social control. Instead of punishing disobedience, society medicalizes it. People who resist conformity are labeled unstable. Those who question authority are told they're paranoid. The asylum has been replaced by the prescription pad. It's a quiet form of policing, one that wears a smile and offers help. To be clear, Szasz never said mental distress doesn't exist. He said calling it an illness was a metaphor that turned moral, emotional, and existential problems into medical ones. A broken bone needs a doctor. A broken heart needs understanding. Confusing the two leads to dependency, not healing. When everything painful is reclassified as illness, we lose the language of courage and responsibility. We start to believe we're powerless, victims of our biochemistry. It's easier to take a pill than to confront the deeper questions. Why am I here? What's missing in my life? What kind of society have we built that drives so many to despair? Maybe the sickness isn't in the individual. Maybe it's in the culture that prizes productivity over peace, appearance over authenticity, and medication over meaning. By the late 20th century, the myth had merged with marketing. Antidepressants became billion-dollar miracles. Advertising promised happiness in capsule form, but many discovered that numbing pain isn't the same as curing it. You can silence symptoms, but you can't medicate your way to purpose. When profits depend on perpetual patience, wellness becomes bad for business. Ancient traditions saw suffering differently. Buddhists spoke of dukkha, the unavoidable pain of life, as a teacher. Stoics saw hardship as the forge of character. Even early Christianity saw meaning in the cross, redemption through struggle. Modern psychiatry, by contrast, often sees suffering as a chemical error to be corrected. In doing so, it medicalizes the human condition itself. But pain, handled wisely, can become transformation. As Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. When we strip the word soul from psychology, We end up treating people as malfunctioning machines. But a human being is not an appliance. We are spiritual, relational, creative, contradictory. We need meaning, not just medication. We need conversation, not just classification. Therapy, philosophy, art, prayer, and community. These are ancient medicines for the modern mind. They heal through connection, not correction. Szasz's warning still echoes. If you talk to God, you're praying. If God talks to you, you're schizophrenic. That one line exposes the double standard of modern rationalism. The same mystical experience that once made saints now makes patients. Society still fears what it doesn't understand. So what can we do? First, reclaim ownership of our stories. Second, challenge lazy labeling, even our own self-diagnoses. And third, build communities that listen instead of categorize. True mental health is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to face reality with courage. It's knowing when to seek help, but also knowing when to trust your own insight. It's remembering that sanity isn't conformity, it's authenticity. As long as human beings have souls, there will be suffering. But that doesn't mean we're broken. It means we're alive. The myth of mental illness was written over 60 years ago, but its message feels prophetic. A world that worships comfort will always pathologize discomfort. Maybe the cure for our collective distress isn't another diagnosis. Maybe it's rediscovering meaning, connection, and purpose. The medicine no laboratory can patent. So the next time someone tells you that you're mentally ill because you feel too much, think too deeply, or question too loudly, smile, and remember, maybe you're not sick. Maybe you're simply awake in a world that prefers sleep.